that was just me doing a quick demonstration of everything that goes into drumming, and that was just the culmination of years of practice and all that stuff. But this is going to be a crash course into how to drum, and particularly focusing on snare drum because that's what I play. And there's two ways that are taught how to play snare drum, depending on how people hold the sticks. And what I've always been taught, what is the most universal taught, there are some places around that teach it a different way, is traditional grip, which is right hand like this, and then left hand like this. And the reason this was taught this way is because in the old days, before there were harnesses and carriers that kept a drum level, there used to be just a single strap going across the shoulder, and that would carry the drum like this. And if it was like that, if you're trying to hold both your hands this way, your left hand arm would be all the way up here and you would grow tired extremely fast. So they started thinking, how could we fix that? And the quick consensus was, put your hand underneath the stick, because right now it's on top of the stick, and if you could somehow find a way to play with your hand underneath the stick, then you would be able to last playing drums for a lot longer. So they came up with this grip where all of a sudden, there we go, now my hand's underneath the drumstick, my arm's back down here, and they were still able to figure out a way to keep control. And we, as talking about drumming, we call them cookie cutter molds, because you don't want your hands to change at all while you're playing, even though it looks like somebody's playing crazy stuff and their hand's doing crazy things. Usually their hand actually stays in roughly the same position and mold the entire time. Like your right hand will stay supposed to stay looking like this most of the time, and your left hand should stay looking like this the whole time. And there's a few key points. In your right hand, the focus is your thumb and your pointer finger. That's where all the power comes from. Most of the control comes from, and you can play. You can still play decently with just these two fingers, as far as like what we call 8 on a hand. And that's with me taking all the 3 other fingers off the stick, not even touching it. And with the left hand, the focal point is the same thing, your thumb and your pointer finger. But on your left hand, you never want this connection to come apart. As soon as your thumb comes off that first knuckle of your pointer finger, that's when you lose control, you lose all of your ability, and you always want that to stay connected the whole time. And when the stick is resting in your hand, you want it to rest on the first knuckle of your ring finger. And I used to have like a big build-up, big callus there, and over the years it's kind of gone away. But that's where the stick would rest whenever it's not on the drum pad. And as soon as you hit the drum pad, that's when the stick comes off of your finger right there, just for a split second. So the only thing you want to be touching the stick whenever it hits the drum is these 2 fingers and possibly your middle finger, depending on what you're doing. And the same thing I did with the right hand, just playing with these 2 fingers, you can do with the left hand playing with these 2 fingers, just to get down the basics of the bounce of the drum head and everything. But if you want to play anything more difficult than that, it's going to be really hard to keep your control and all that. So, and then the basics, what we call 8 on a hand, is just doing simple 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and boom. And then that really helps you get a feel for the bounce of the drum and whatever you're playing on. This is just a drum pad. It's made to have the same bounce as a snare drum, so it's really easy to get used to and play on. So once you get that down, and we like to say it's like dribbling a basketball, like your hands in constant motion. You don't ever stop your hand while you're dribbling a basketball. It's constant motion. You're nice and relaxed, and that's the same way in drumming. You want to keep your hand relaxed the whole time and just keep it going. Same with the left. Alright, now that we've covered the super basics, just in the grip and everything, then you can kind of move into the more difficult stuff as far as like we have things called diddles, which is 2 notes on one hand very fast. So and that you can really get down after you get a really good feel for the bounce of the drum pad and all that. Then that becomes really easy, and then those are used everywhere in as far as marching band music and this type of drumming music. Those are all over the place. And then in drumming there's what we call rudiments, which are like different formations. Like it's not all just alternating back and forth, right left. There's many different combinations, and those are all called rudiments, and a lot of them have weird names, like, you know, there's Cheez-Its and Swiss Armies and stuff like that. They're really cool, so those are used everywhere. It's really a combination. What makes a good what we call book as far as music wise is just a whole bunch of different rudiments tastefully put together, stuff that flows nicely into each other. And then a lot of really common ones are called paradiddles and paradiddle-diddles, which is it's another translation for right-left. So para is right-left, and then diddle is right-right. So paradiddle, paradiddle. Those are used a lot in music. Every single piece of music I've had to play, those are in there. And then paradiddle-diddles is, as the name suggests, para, right, left, diddle, diddle, so right, right, left, left. And the goal is to make those sound just like, keep that sounding like that, just playing in a different way. That's the goal, to keep everything sounding the exact same way no matter how you play it. And that's all over in music. And then, you know, stuff gets more difficult and different types of music, not just straight 6/10 notes. Then you can switch it up to triplets and use different things like flam fives, cheeses and stuff. And then that's based on a triplet format. And there's cheeses, and those include flams, which is hitting both the sticks on the pad at the exact same time, but the trick is you have one stick up here and one down here. And then the old way to play those was you actually wanted to be able to hear 2 different hits, one right after another, not as far apart as, but closer together. And the new way to play them, as far as marching band in high school nowadays, they want you to now play them at the exact same time. They don't want to hear 2 different beats. They want to hear it as one note now. Not. And that's an overview of a bunch of different things in drumming, and it goes into depth a lot more than that, of course, over years of drumming, but just a quick little crash course in the beginnings of drumming and what it's made up of.